Welcome to the Home Building Hub, your essential podcast guide to building your new home. Hosted by industry experts Colin Bischoff and Darren Brennan, this conversational podcast will help better educate you about all things new home building so you can avoid costly mistakes and enjoy your building experience to the fullest, no matter which home builder you choose.
Hey guys, before we kick off on the episode, I want to introduce you to a new phase of the Home Building Hub. We have decided to go back to school, that is SKOOL. We've created a community based on the back of a podcast we've been running for so long now. We've created a community for you, for all home buyers to jump in and get access to a whole range of tools, checklists, information, and most importantly, find other home buyers in there so you can follow people's journeys, you can share your own journey, and we're excited to build the most trusted community that is independent and objective in the whole country. So get in there, it's skoolschool.com. Look up Home Building Hub, download the app, come and say hi, and we will see you in there. Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Home Building Hub. You're with Colin and co-host Darren Brennan. As always, today, Dazza, we're going to give the guys and girls a little bit of an insight into how long does it really take to get to site. This is a topic that I think a lot of people are confused about and could do with a few tips and understanding that, you know, the area, the type of project, all the third parties involved. There's a lot of steps to take, you know, from a contract to getting to site start. So we thought we'd just share a little bit of that with you and just to help, you know, better condition and prepare you for your own build when you're ready to roll. How you going, buddy?
Going real well, mate. Yeah, thank you. And like you say, I think it's a really good topic. I think it is one of those confusing ones because people are often, you know, wanting their land to be titled, wanting it to be settled, and then wanting to make a decision. And they're like, well, why can't you get them to site next week? There's quite a lot of stuff we need to do to get you to site. And every builder's the same. We all have the same steps we need to go through. The order may vary, but, you know, we've got to be compliant and then get a permit before we can go to site. So if we can't do all those compliance things and get a permit, then we cannot start your home. And then I think there's a bit of terminology differences, as in when you are considered a site start. I know, you know, over the years that's even varied from, you know, in particular builders. I remember back in the day working at a builder where they used to claim that site start was actually when the slab was finished, because they were trying to, you know, I guess hedge their bets on how long it's going to take to say we built your home in a certain number of weeks. Others are like when it's, you know, referred to site, just got to the building team and they're 2, 3, 4 weeks away from actually starting on site. So yeah, those sort of different terminologies, I guess we'll talk through today, and I think it'll be, yeah, really good for our listeners.
Yeah, that's good. Well, maybe kick us off. You can. What does getting to site actually mean?
I guess it's finalising all those documents, approvals, pre-construction checks, etc., ordering all of the materials for the home, and everything in between, signing a building contract, getting your finance approved, all those things that are required to get you to site. The so-called to site bit, I guess, as I've just mentioned, they vary from builder to builder. So some will say when that job's referred to the construction team, that's now on site, even though you're not seeing any activity actually on the site itself. And others will be saying that that's when, you know, the tap goes in, the temporary fencing goes up, the toilet appears on site. Others will say that's when the actual excavation works begin on site, ready for your slab to be poured. So yeah, those will vary slightly, but to site really means, I guess, anywhere in between any of those sort of timeframes. And chat to your builder about what their explanation of that is, so that you've got that real understanding. So if they say we call it to site when it gets to our construction team, great. How long from then till I can see activity on site is really, I guess, the question mark.
Yep. So we might cover some of the details of those as we go forward in this, just to help people better understand some of those layers. So
For sure.
I guess some of the key factors that affect that timeline. So one of those factors is whether the land is titled or not, which may seem obvious to some people, but to some people who are fresh at this, it's not. So titled land being it's registered and it's ready to build a house on. And non-titled land means it's actually not registered or finalised. So you may have purchased it, signed the contract, paid the deposit, but you haven't actually yet settled on that land because you cannot, because it hasn't been finalised as a block as such. So if it's not titled, then you have to wait until it is titled, then you settle, then you can push ahead with the construction of your home. Some of the documentation and works you can get done prior to that, but there is a tipping point where we as a builder, we need to wait until the land is titled and settled to action the rest of those steps to get you to site. So that's one of the factors for sure, Daz, that can add time frame. If it is titled, then that means you can get on site within the speed that the builder can get you on site. Okay, so some of the remainder of this list will outline, I guess, some of those things that can help make that a bit quicker, but also quite often some of those that can extend it and delay it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And again, with Untitled, often once that title comes out, the builder's waiting on further information to be uploaded into some of the portals that they need to draw that information down from. And that's, again, could create a 4 to 8 week delay in getting to site on what's now a title block. So, yeah, just being mindful, talk to your builder about it. They'll guide you through what the timeframes they'll be anticipating for that. I guess another factor that can impact the time to site is changes to the plan. So what are you doing with the plan? Are you butchering it? Are you getting the red pen out? Are you chopping up the house and trying to put it back together and trying to redesign that home? And that's going to mean that there's going to be redraws done. You need to go through an approval process, etc. So there's a fair bit going in that space to get that to happen. So yeah, be mindful of what that actually looks like in those turnaround timeframes.
Yep. The next one, we've got a little guest in the background. Everybody meet Darren's dog. What's the dog's name?
That's Chica going off right now. So
Chica.
She's having a fair old go.
That's all right.
Gotta love the dogs, eh?
That is part of doing this authentically, I think, Daz. We will not be editing that out. We'll just keep rolling on. So the other one, so I think this is interesting. So are you doing full color selection or are you doing just color boards? Now, the reason this can actually delay your start is probably closer to the front end when you're dealing with, a little bit after the sales consultant, sometimes before the contract or just after the contract. So in this case, some people define as, let's say a 3-month period from contract signing to site start. This may actually delay you to get to that 3-month period. So you cannot define, okay, 3 months from the day I walked in the door, 3 months from the day I paid a deposit to the consultant, and then it now took you, 5 more weeks to make a decision and finalize the quote. Okay, so this is a step probably before that 3-month, I guess, rough time frame is starting to count. But a full color selection is something that you've got to go and attend. So to get to that point, drawings have to be done. So you have to, accept your quote. You have to get the drawings sorted, all that sort of stuff. And then some will do it before contract, some will do it after. But the reality is, it can be quite intimidating, Daz. Going through a full color selection is a lot of things to think about. The color of this and the color of that, and the type of this and the type of that. Like, it's a big thing. Can be a little overwhelming, can be delayed. And when is the appointment available to go and do that? For one. If you go and make those decisions and then they send you the documentation with the pricing and realize, oh, geez, I've gone over a little bit, then it may take you another week or two to work through those and go, oh, I might take that out and sort of, get to the final thing that's within budget. So even that might add, it could add a week, it could add 2 weeks to that total, so these are minor things, but they certainly can add time frame to get to site. And also understanding there's another option. Those who select preset color boards or color schemes, or palettes, whatever they're called, they generally can go through much quicker because they're predetermined. So if you're in that boat, you're doing investment, my advice is investment, you would never do a full color selection. You just pick a palette and off you go. Your investment needs to be out there as quickly as possible. But yeah, definitely colors, Daz, can delay the start a little bit.
Yeah, it can be an exciting part of the journey, but understand that that's going to cost you some time, and generally that time costs you a little bit more money as well, just in terms of repayments, etc. If the land's titled, for example. If your land's not titled, well, it probably doesn't really matter. You can go and do your colour selection. It's just part of that time frame leading up to the land titling, and it's an exciting part of that. So, yeah, really cool part, I guess. Another one in that lineup is there design approval for the developer required? And what we're talking about there is a lot of the different estates have certain requirements that you must adhere to. So it could be you need to have a certain amount of different products on your facade. They might want eaves on your facade. They might want certain colours to be selected as part of the home. They might want to see things like rainwater tanks or a certain style of driveway, even a landscape plan provided potentially. So all those sort of things the developer may want to actually check off. And again, you've got a third party that you're now having to send a set of plans to come them, check them off and stamp those plans prior to getting to site. And again, depending on how stringent they are with that documentation, that can take a little bit of time. Sometimes it might be back and forward a little bit. They say, no, that's not one of our approved colours, so you've got to go and reselect a new colour. Could be little bits and pieces like that that can add to that time frame. So making sure that you've ticked all the boxes in your design approval, and when you're working with your sales consultant, just ask them about that. If you had a look at these things, what are any of those items? Are there any particular items that that we should be considering and making sure that we've got covered up front, and away we go. So, yeah, and generally the typical time frame for an approval is about 1 to 4 weeks. So, again, depending on what the developer's like, the speed of which they operate at, 4 weeks is a long time to add to you getting to site. 1 week, probably not so bad. So just be mindful that it can take some time to get that design approval through.
Yeah. And it's one thing that's out of the builder's control. They submit it and they wait for the response.
Correct.
So, and there are actually estates out there. So like you said, ask your consultant, but better yet, ask your land person, whoever you buy the land off, if it's through a developer. Just ask them, is there developer approval here? Which there should be, and that's good because it means that they're taking pride in the way the estate looks. And those things will need to be priced into your quote. We've done episodes on that, design guidelines, what they mean, etc. But I guess the other side of it is that you should ask them, how long does your design approval process normally take? Just to give you a bit of an idea. There is a couple of estates as a developer, though I won't mention the name, but they actually take at least 2 months, sometimes 3 months to review and approve. And it's just, and we've dealt with them quite a bit, and the clients get angry at us. It's like, well, we're trying, but it just sits there, and they just, I don't know, maybe they don't get to it, or maybe they got too many, but it can happen. So yeah, certainly an important question. One of the main ones for sure is, are there any planning conditions? So two sort of areas here. One is does your land have any planning overlays like bushfire management, heritage, flood zones, things like that might require additional reports or permits or consents and things like that. Some of those have to be lodged through council, and they can take, with councils, to be honest, always take a varied amount of time, but most of the time it takes a long time. 4 to 8 weeks, easy. Now, if your home needs actual planning approval from a council, not just for one little thing, but for the actual whole thing, I mean, that can take months extra, right? So the builder will tell you about that. And if you're walking into a block of land where you're going to build something that requires planning, you should know that up front, that the council will take some time. But I just wanted to flag it as well. It's something that frustrates all of us. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Next on the hit list, Cole, is finance approval and working with your bank and your broker. One bit of advice I'd love to give is make sure you're dealing with a broker or your bank, but ideally a broker that specialises in construction finance, because they understand, right, what it's going to take and the process to go through, and they're more likely going to point you to the right lender that's going to be able to facilitate a loan in a timely fashion, that's going to be the right loan to match you, the customer, right? Rather than pointing you down the wrong path and then, having to go and get a secondary, lender to actually try and help you out because they couldn't get it approved for whatever reason. So talking to the right sort of broker is absolutely paramount in getting your finance through in a timely fashion, right? And then providing them all the required information that they need. So don't drip feed them. If they say they need 3 pay slips, give them 3 pay slips. If they require identification, get all that stuff together and do it really quickly. Quite often what I hear when I talk to the broker is, I'm still waiting on this customer to give me these last 2 documents, right? Which is delaying that whole process, and that's costing you time and money. So, make sure you provide them all those things that you require. There will be evaluation needed, so the bank will want to actually value that contract, the house contract and the land contract, and they'll compare those to existing properties around and make sure that you're spending within your means of what's more likely saleable in those areas. So, again, if you're trying to build the Taj Mahal and some monster house on a really small deposit, you're probably going to have valuation issues. And then that's going to become another challenge for you to try and overcome. So that's going to delay that process. And, I think just work really timelessly with your broker to make sure that you're providing that information as quickly as possible, and that should see your finance approved in a really timely fashion.
Yeah. And if you do get what's called a valuation shortfall, your broker needs to go back to that lender and fight them like as hard as they can. Because quite often we see it, Darren. We had one in Ballarat a week or two ago, 30 grand under. And this is the land, not even the build. And we showed a countless number of comparable sales of the same size land in the same size area, same area. And the bank's just like, yeah, don't care, whatever. It's 30 grand under. And now the client doesn't have 30 grand to top up the difference. So
Yeah,
you will cop a bit of that. And you just need a broker who can just take them on and say, well, no, that's not acceptable. Here's some comparables. Do you want the business or not? Otherwise, I'm happy to go to another lender. Like they need to be firm. So that's something that certainly that back and forth can add another week or two or three as well. So
for sure.
yeah, again, it's outside of the builders control that part, but you want to be giving your broker the best chance at as we said, Daz, give all the information so they can process it and get it done quickly, as quickly as possible, I suppose. Yeah. Speaking of third party, I guess out of builder control items, third party items. Look, we won't go through every single one, but during the actual process, so you've signed your contract, your land's titled, let's say, and your sort of finances in order. Now the builder's actually got to take some action, get some stuff done, right? They've got a contract, they've got colours, they've got developer approval they've got to apply for. They've also got to get energy rating confirmed. They've got to get engineering drawn, so how the foundation of the home is actually going to be. They've got to get soil test done, survey done, and quite often even to get out to there, if you've got long grass on your site, the soil test and survey company will say, no, not going there, OH&S issue. So you'll have to go get someone to slash the grass or remove some stuff that's on there. So that can add another, by the time it's done and then they come back out again, that can add another week or two. And even when you're just about to go to site start, the job gets given to the supervisor, and then they go out there to inspect a pre-site inspection or pre-start inspection, I suppose, and they realise, oh, there's all this rubble on there, builder's rubble or whatever it may be. So then you get a phone call again saying, hey, you need to clear it up. And then they have to go and reassess. So lots of reasons for the thing to be delayed. But I find at the moment, Darren, rubbish on site here in Victoria, in the Melbourne or the metro areas, really causing havoc. And I have been told by, I think we asked Brett, who was on another podcast. He talked about South Australia being absolutely the opposite of that. For example, just saying no, there's no issue, but here in Melbourne there is. So just it is location based. So just absolutely understand that some of the things are third party, and the builder may coordinate them, you may coordinate them, but you're going to have to understand that sometimes it just takes longer.
It's interesting you say that, Cole, about the rubbish on site. I did have a customer who's got 5 blocks of land, and they're all titled. Not one of those did not have rubbish on them. Every single one of them had significant rubbish dumped on them. And again, it takes time to get it removed, and it costs money. And it's just disappointing for the customer that they're now up for money for some lazy person who couldn't be bothered going to the tip. And the reverse of that is I went to the tip, and that was $180 to empty my trailer, and I was like, $180 bucks. I'm like,
that's why they're dumping.
It's a lot of money. So it's this trade-off. But again, there's a level of responsibility on people to make sure that they're taking care of their own rubbish and don't go dumping it on the neighbour's property. That's just unfair and not taking up your, moral obligation within life, I guess. So,
Also, I would encourage you to listen to an episode we've done about site cleaning, because it's very important to understand the difference between paying some guy or girl on Airtasker to go and lift up a few things off your block versus getting someone in to do it properly and scrape the block. That's what builders require now. They need it scraped. it used to be a bit different, Darren. It's sort of part of the site start. The builder would sort it out, but there's a lot of what they call contaminated soil. So basically, a builder says, "Look, I need a nice, clear and clean and non-contaminated platform to start construction, and you, the owner of that block, are responsible for it." So please don't fall into the trap of thinking that it looks clear to the naked eye because some guy picked up the 3 couches and the microwave that were dumped there. You need to make sure that is scraped clear and clean. And that'll cost you a bit more, but you hopefully only have to do it once. And then the builder can kick off. So, yeah.
And then lucky last, I guess, Cole, sort of is managing the expectations and communication. So, I guess it's really important that communication between the builder, the customer, the builder and those outsourcing parties that they're dealing with, also the customer and those parties that they're also dealing with, so with their broker, etc. So making sure that everyone's, I guess, in unison with respect to that. I guess to put a realistic time frame to site, if your land is titled, somewhere between from the time, I guess, and again, it'll depend builder to builder, whether that's from deposit or from contract. If the builder's issuing a contract quite quickly, and they're doing colours post-contract or doing colour boards, then you can assume that you'll get, the time frames are going to be in this sort of realm. If they're doing colours pre-contract, then you might find it's more from deposit, so more so than from contract, that sort of time frame to look at. But somewhere between 10 to 16 weeks, I think, is a pretty realistic time frame. So about 2.5 months to 4 months on a title block of land. And again, you can expect some variations on that, depending on your builder, depending on what's going on out there, the complexity of your job. Some of the stuff we spoke about, if it's going back to council for additional approvals, etc., they can certainly push out. Understand that as a customer also, you have obligations to keep that time frame on track as well. So signing off your colours in a timely fashion, signing off your building contract in a timely fashion, making sure that you respond to calls, emails, etc., so that, things don't just delay. And because the builder wants to get you to site as soon as possible also. They don't make money on a house until you're on site and actually building. So pre all of that, it's costing the builder money to be dealing with you, the customer, and that's okay. They're willing to do that, and they're very happy to do that, but they want to get you on site so that they can start to generate some revenue off your job and start to fund their way through building that home. So, I guess don't be that client that delays things and still expects to be on site in 3 months. So, if you're not getting back to the builder in a timely fashion, or, you're not getting the information to your mortgage broker, etc., then don't also expect the timeframes to remain exactly as they were. So, and you'll get pushback from the builder on that. They'll say, "Hey, mate, you didn't get back to me," and they generally document that stuff pretty well. They're not there to have an argument with you, but they want to get you to site as soon as possible. Trust me, they really do. So the sooner they get you on site, as I said, the sooner they're making money, and they want to do that. They want to see a house come out of the ground and be completed and be a really nice, seamless project. So, yeah, communication is absolute key.
Yep, perfect.
There it is, mate.
That wraps it up. Nice. Well, there you have it. Hopefully that helps you guys and girls out there just understand what are all the little bits and pieces that sort of happen, how long it can take and why it can vary, probably most importantly. So if you like what you've sort of listened to or you watched, then guys, please give us a 5-star review on the platform you're on. Any questions, topic ideas, just shoot them through or just jump onto the website. There's an inquiry thing there. And if you're interested in learning about or getting some more resources, just jump onto Google and type school, SKOOL.com, and then type in Home Building Hub and you'll find us there. You have to join, and then other than that, there'll be heaps of resources there for you, all free and, all helpful. So other than that, anything else to add, Daz?
No, mate, we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. And just our disclaimer, whilst we're all about providing value to you, this podcast should not be considered as legal or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out independent professional advice on your personal situation before making any legal or financial decisions.
1